Tonight, fire sweeps through parts of Abosokai. We're live on the grounds for details. Plus, ECG mounts strong defense of its 225% tariff hike demand, as it is warning only this hike can deliver a 3% revenue hit over the next 3 years.
We want to maintain the financial stability of the company. So, Mr. Regulator, please approve our tariff of 225%.
Also tonight, ECG is pressuring PURC to factor in the full cost of generation and to raise the public lighting levy, which it says is suffocating the company.
In other words, the generation cost of ECG is even higher than the sales that we make.
And industries in the free zones enclave should brace for higher power bills as Enclave Power pushes for 163% increase in its distribution service charge.
57 Ghana pesos from the current PURC approved 21.62, and that is expected to increase our DSC1 by 163%.
Thanks for choosing us. Top story, as always, is brought to you by Telecel Connecting Energies. My name is Faustina Safo. Tonight, the electricity company of Ghana has been mounting a strong defense of its jaw-dropping 225% tariff hike demand. ECG argues that the cost of generating power has now outstripped its sales, plunging the company into deeper losses. We have more on that story for you shortly, but first, the breaking news from Abosokai, where fire has swept through parts of the suburb of the capital. The inferno has been raging the last few minutes, and we can now go live on the ground and speak to the PRO of the National Fire Service, who would be joining us, just give us his updates on this. They're live on the ground trying to tame the flames. My colleague Kenny Jesse is also on the ground. We'll be crossing over there shortly. We're told that the fire service is actually on their way there to try and tame the flames. Residents are worried, and we're hoping we'll be reaching them shortly just to get updates on this for you. It's happening live at Abosokai. We're receiving news that they're dealing with an inferno in parts of the suburb of the capital. My colleague Kenny Jesse will be joining us shortly just to give us updates. But let's turn our attention now to our top story this hour, where tonight the electricity company of Ghana has been mounting a strong defense of its jaw-dropping 225% tariff hike demand. ECG argues that the cost of generating power has now outstripped its sales, plunging the company into deeper losses. It says only this increment, which is raising the distribution service charge from 19 pesos to nearly 60 pesos per kilowatt, can deliver that modest 3% revenue growth over the next 3 years. The utility company warns that without approval, it faces a major revenue shortfall in the coming 2026 fiscal year. But ECG appeals goes beyond the tariffs. The company insists that the current calculation excludes critical costs, including the huge burden of public lighting, which it says is draining its finances. It is calling for tariff bands to be collapsed to ease recovery. Management promises that if it is accepted in terms of their proposal, customers will see improved services and investment in reliability. Well, you've been in that meeting all day. Our lead data analyst Isaac Kofieje joining me in the studio just to give me a breakdown of ECG's justification and why exactly they're pushing for this for PURC. Let's start with the major challenges that they've been telling us.
Well, several challenges, but we have to focus on three. First one is a current charge, which ECG says is below the industry's benchmark. According to them, the current benchmark is around about 30% of the actual charge. ECG claims that what they are charging in terms of their distribution service charge only is about 11% of the total tariff that consumers pay, and so they want this increase. Another aspect has to do with the cedi depreciation, which they've been tracking since 2022. It's also one big thing that's affecting ECG at the moment. And then as well, there is that $8 million spent on network upgrades and smart meters, which according to ECG, they need this tariff to actually recover this cost.
And they've been justifying this, really. Let's listen to them. You've been speaking to some of them.
I think I want to emphasize that all the projects I have taken you through, the main reason is that, yes, we have done some of the projects. We have paid for some, but a significant number of them, we are yet to pay for them. And therefore, we need tariff, not just to pay for some of the projects, but also to undertake some of the critical projects the regulator has approved for us. Operations cost is 2.5 billion and it increased to 3.3 billion. On an average, is 2.9 billion in that order. Now, if you put this alongside the energy that we plan to sell during the same period, the average tariff that ECG is requesting for is 61 pesos per kilowatt hour. In 2024, the public lighting levy set aside to cover the cost of public lighting is only covering 28% of ECG's cost of public lighting. And for that reason, we are requesting the regulator to approve a tariff for public lighting. If you take our books of accounts, you will realize that the generation cost alone and the sales, ECG is into loss.
Well, Isaac, ECG also revealed that the cost of keeping streetlights on is crippling their business. Tell me more about it.
Well, they've been saying that at the moment, what they collect in terms of the current streetlight levy that we pay per every kilowatt hour that we buy, currently only ECG gets about just 50% of that income. The remaining 50% goes to the energy ministry. They've been making strong case for this as well. Let's listen to the ECG.
I have other proposals for you. So as part of the proposal, ECG has also proposed that the tariff band in some of the bands should be collapsed. End user tariff. There are 3 bands in the residential tariff. We are requesting the regulator to reduce that to just 2, to keep the lifeline tariff and just 1 additional one. In 2024, the public lighting levy set aside to cover the cost of public lighting is only covering 28% of ECG's cost of public lighting. And for that reason, we are requesting the regulator to approve a tariff for public lighting, so that whatever is consumed by public lighting will be able to bill it. Liquid fuel. The tariff adopts a weighted average cost of gas. The challenge we face is that where under emergency or other conditions we have to buy liquid fuel or we have to generate with liquid fuel, the price of liquid fuel is more than the gas. And for that matter, the tariff for generation will not be passing through the tariff. So we are asking the regulator to adopt a weighted average cost of fuel rather than weighted average cost of gas. In other words, the generation cost of ECG is even higher than the sales that we make. All we are requesting the regulator to do is to ensure that the generation cost is a pass-through cost in full.
As well, and they are in terms of their promises, according to them, if we are able to give them this 225% increment in tariff, what they are promising is an improvement in the smart meters that they actually are going to distribute, and then also the improvement of the network lines that actually transmit this power. So this is the promise from ECG, not just on that, but also their revenue, which has become a key determinant in determining who gets what in the cash waterfall mechanism. Firstly,
SAIFI is also expected to reduce by 44%. We plan to deploy 3 million meters in the next 3 years. In terms of financial growth, sales is projected to increase by 18% with an annual growth rate of 8%. In conclusion, UCG is requesting for 225% in tariff, specifically the DSC1, to support the deployment of smart metering technology, which is working for us. Secondly, we are requesting the regulator to approve our tariff so that we can enhance customer service delivery and also ensure UCG can continue to provide reliable and quality electricity for Ghana. I'm sure all of you will agree with me that in the past 2 or 3 months, the electricity in the southern sector has been fairly stable. This is the rainy season, but we have not been witnessing the kind of shortfalls that we used to have in the past. And finally, we want to maintain the financial stability of the company. So, Mr. Regulator, please approve our tariff of 225%.
And what did the regulator say, Kofi?
Well, the regulator... is expected to finish this, structural, adjustment by September 2025. PRC is expected to do all of this by September 2025, and by October 1st, we expect, or the IMF expect, that this adjustment will take effect. We've spoken to the chairman of the stakeholder committee, Nanaya Ajantwa, who says that at this stage, they are receiving proposals, and they are not so sure whether what they have proposed is what they are going to give to them. They are going to look at the data, and that will influence their decision. Let's listen to her.
Oh, we have received their proposals for some increment in tariffs. In 2022, the PURC went through a major tariff review process, and we gave them a tariff. They've come to tell us what they use the money for, but not us as PURC. They have to speak to the public. So we have 2 types, which is steep in law: the stakeholder meetings and also the public hearings. So now the process at which we are is the stakeholder meetings. Whatever percentages we see right now, it is the percentages that they have proposed. These are not percentages that we are. We don't know whether we'll give them or not. So after everything, the PRC is going to sit down and also interrogate these numbers, these figures, so that at the end of the day, we will decide what is in the interest of the consumer and the financial viability of the utility service provider. We shouldn't be alarmed. We are seeing some huge figures, but these are proposals, and we want to reiterate and emphasize that these are proposals.
Well, let's explore the conversation further here on Top Story. Join me now is Justice Kojo Yauche. He's policy lead, petroleum and conventional energy, and also Ebenezer Baden, his energy economist. We appreciate your time, gentlemen, here on Top Story. I'll start with you because, Mr. Ebenezer, I just want to get your thoughts on this. ECG's justification as to why exactly they want to increase tariffs. They say it doesn't really cover the operational costs. Shouldn't we be paying attention to them?
Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to discuss the ECG proposal. Over the years, from 2022 to 2024, the multi-year tariff order had been designed such that the utilities now will have to go look for loans to pre-finance investment projects or network expansion projects. And then when those projects have materialized and are in service, then you can now come make a case before the regulator for it to be included in the tariff. This ECG has been able to carry out a lot of the major substation expansion work, line reconstruction across the southern part of Ghana where we operate, have all been brought into service. Weak substations, but elsewhere you have to inject more transformers, more than 1,500 transformers, to ensure that the quality of supply is good to communities. So now, for this tariff year order 2026 to 2030, we're supposed to now put that before the regulator, and then we can ask for a meaningful return on such investment so that we can pay for our debt, and then when the asset also is faulty or damaged, we can also replace them. So that is one. Now, the second one has to do with the macroeconomic parameters. So inflation, foreign exchange rates, and all that. We are hit twice in terms of effect. Whereas we purchase power in USD terms, we are collecting cedis to convert to pay. And just when there is a swing in effect, we are hit by it straight. Now we come to distribution. All our transformers, conductors, lines are all in USD. So macroeconomic parameters hit us always. Now we have a situation where the PURC tries to catch up a bit with the automatic tariff adjustment mechanism. Here again, it has not been adequate. So we still are in a cycle of debt. And how do we come out and are able to pay our suppliers, power producers? You hear them threatening sometimes to go off, to shut down and all that. So we are in a critical situation where we need to now come to the regulator, ask for some tariff adjustment so that we can go and repay for this investment and maintain the network and provide the quality services that is required. Today we have done digitization. We have the mobile app that is fully functional. We've brought services to the doorstep to customers. You sit in the room, you can make a complaint, and then we come in with our team to come and fix it. Meter replacements are going on. The loss reduction project, which is looking at replacing faulty meters and all that, such that revenues can be collected, have all been implemented. We used to have a backlog of meter supplies of over 40,000. Today we have eased them all, and now we don't have too many of these backlogs. So it's just to come to the regulator and say that where we are, we need support to be able to advance the electricity distributing and retailing business.
But this support is coming at a cost to me, the consumer, and so we're wondering how best we can deal with it. Some of the arguments you're making when it comes to ECG's operation and the cost of the dollar, many would argue that within the past few months, the dollar as against the cedi has been doing very well. So if your argument is the cost of acquisition and what have not, at least you should have recorded some gains. Why push down this cost to me, the consumer?
So if you follow the energy sector, it's that somewhere about in the region of $1.7 billion. Today, renegotiation and restructuring and all that has brought it down to about 1.1 billion. And there is still an aggressive force with the government of Ghana to bring the sector debt down. Now, if we talk about, we